I would like to bring up stage our moderator for the second panel session at ThinkUX 2025. Please put your hands together for this amazing man, Akombi Mayowa. A round of applause for Mayowa as he makes his way to the stage. Mayowa has been working behind scenes today to ensure that ThinkUX 2025 is a success, and he's taking the front stage during this panel session to moderate and drive conversations on this panel session. Thank you very much for joining us at ThinkUX 2025.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. All right, welcome to ThinkUX 2025. I want to use this medium to also appreciate our panelists, our wonderful panelists. They are looking beautiful and radiant. Dennis, Rukaya, Pamela, and Toby. Yes, thank you. And I want to welcome us once again. My name is Akombi Mayowa, and I'll be moderating this panel session. So I would like to throw this question across the room, and it's general, right? So anybody can just answer. What's the most important thing designers should remember, when using data to shape user experience? Who wants to go first? I think I should start with Mr. Toby.
Okay, hi guys. Most important thing designers should remember when trying to utilize data is context, I believe, right? Because at the end of the day, we are all trying to achieve a main goal, trying to help the business move forward. So one thing I usually like to start from is everybody should understand context. Data people, product designers, product managers, if you know where we are headed to actually build a solution that is actually going to achieve that, won't be difficult. So for me, I think the most important should be context.
So for me, what designers should remember when working with data is that if they should have at the back of their mind that they're doing so much for the business, right? And then follow the data. And don't just see yourselves as, oh, I'm pushing pixels. Know that those pixels you're pushing, when you look at the data itself, is actually doing so much in terms of revenue for the business.
Thank you so much for that wonderful response. So because of our time, I would just like to continue. So Mr. Toby, building on your response, which was context, and I would like us to take a perspective view into that. How can analytics be integrated into UX design without reinforcing negative patterns?
So when we're working with analytics and we're trying to, because the main goal is we use analytics to get insights, right? When you see things like that, you now need to sit back and say, okay, what are the things that we're actually pushing to, we're actually using to make this decision? For now, we've actually just been working on just one parameter. Can we look at other things? Can we say, okay, based on this person's behavior last week, based on the kind of things he has been buying for the previous months, based on how he actually interacts with the product, does he check out a specific type of food? Let's use that to now decide what we are going to be recommending to that person. If you only recommend one thing, this person might be angry and decide, okay, he doesn't want to use the product anymore. But to avoid that negative feedback, consider so many parameters. And as designers, usually when data people come, they'll try to act, okay, I've done the analytics, right? Just go there and do the user experience. And that's where context comes in again. If you know what you are doing and you know how data applies to what you are supposed to do, you can kick back, right? Ask questions. Based on what you just said, is this not going to be like a negative feedback? Are we not supposed to consider this, consider that, and consider other things, right? And when you push back like that, the data person can now start considering, okay, why not consider looking into other parameters before I push into this model?
Wow, thank you very much. Yes, please. We can give a round of applause to that wonderful response. Yes, let's do that again, please. Yes, thank you. What Mr. Toby was saying, sorry, I address you as Mr. Toby. What Toby was saying in essence is that the end goal of data is to get user feedbacks, insights that can drive your design, right? So, and there's no how you can go through the right approach, and even if there is negativity, your data can help you to, go through the process and, get the best product out there. So I just want to quickly add that this session is really, really technical. I think I would like to go to Pamela. Hello, Pamela. How are you? You look good. All right, so building on what Mr. Toby said, I think I would like to ask you that you spoke about user feedback, right? So I want to ask, how can user feedbacks be integrated into data-driven design processes, from your own experience and, generally?
Okay, so for me, I believe that just like we said, working with data, right? So in as much as you have that data, let's say, depending on the product analytics tool you're using, there are several ones out there, Mistpanel, Google Analytics, and all of that. The fact that you have that data doesn't necessarily mean that you're supposed to interpret it solely on that data. If there is a handshake between the data that you're getting from your analytics tool and then feedback from users, like real feedback, right? So for instance, what I do is that if I notice some drop-off on the platform I'm using, I kind of spool that data and then liaise with customer experience team and say, okay, I need verbatim feedback from customers. What is happening? Why are they dropping off? Yes, you can get behavioral insight from watching, let's say, session replays on those platforms, but that feedback that you get is always good to marry them with the data that you have. And another thing you can do is on your app, on your website, on your product, it's always good to have that live feedback mechanism. Maybe once a user completes a transaction, it could be buys your product. That simple, how was your experience, from the users, or maybe you notice that they are staying so long on a particular tags. That simple pop-up to just say, we notice there's a delay or something. That feedback, marry it with the data, and that loop gives you so much insight.
Thank you so much. A round of applause, please. And one thing that stuck with me was when she said, marry the data. Can somebody say, marry the data? Thank you very much. A round of applause once again. Pamela, thank you for that, interesting difference. And I would like to go to Rukayat. Hello, Ruka. Hi. How are you?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. So I would like us to take a different perspective, and that would be on ethics. Right, when we're talking about research, talking about data, we talk about transparency, integrity. These are core values, right, in data, in analytics, because you want to get the right user feedback, right? So there's no way you should not be part of the design of the research, rather. Excuse me. So I want to ask that what are the ethical challenges that arise when collecting user data for UX improvement?
Thank you for that question. I feel like it's very, very important. As a user, I want you to communicate to me that whatever data that I'm giving to you would be secure and safe. And you won't be using it for other purposes outside of what you're collecting it for. Also, when you want to collect data, you should be clear. Okay, I want to collect this, and this, and I need it for this, and this. It's why when you're doing your KYC, and you're feeding in your BVN, they tell you we're only collecting your BVN for identification purposes, just so that we know that you are who you say you are. So your BVN or your NIN, it's just really clear, because honestly, my BVN is something that you can use to track me, and you can use it to get whatever information you want, my financial history, whatever. And before imputing it on your site, I need to be sure that it is safe and it is secure. Also, do not be secretive. I feel like a lot of products are very secretive in the data that they're collecting. And it's why when we say, oh, I just spoke about something with my friend and I'm seeing an ad on Instagram about it, right? It's not necessarily because you are talking about it and your phone is listening to you. It's probably you have clicked on a link or you have interacted with something, and then it is now pushing that thing to you just because they assume that you like that stuff or you want to see more of that stuff, right? So it's, be clear. Let people know why you need something. Make sure that that thing you're collecting, the data that you're collecting, it's safe. And yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I think I'm still on Rukayat. Yeah. I'm asking a follow-up question because you spoke about transparency, clarity, and all of that. So I think we are going to need clarity as well into why, How can designers ensure transparency in data usage without overwhelming users? Yeah.
So as a designer, the bulk of your work is to ensure that your user understands what you are trying to do and to make it easy for them to actually do that task. So make sure that your explanation is very short and simple, that even someone that is non-technical would understand. Oh, we need your data because of this. Everybody understands what that means. So be clear, keep it simple. Also, tell users the right thing and at the right time. So I don't want you popping up something when I've not even interacted with that thing. So maybe before I even impute my BVN, why are you telling me that you're collecting my data? It's like, Omo, I beg you. I don't want this thing, and I'll probably close the app, right? Let me interact with it, and then there maybe a small text will just pop up and say, oh, this is why we need your stuff. But telling me before I actually interact with that thing will make me feel very, have thoughts as to why I want to do this thing. It will make me rethink. I probably would drop off and say, you know what, I'll just probably do it later. I have had numerous situations where I open an app and they're telling me to do numerous things, and I'm like, oh, I beg, it's not even necessary, please, I'm just leaving. So communicate at the right time and make sure that it is very clear and simple.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
One thing I was able to pick from there is communication, and I think it's general, because even we as humans, you need to communicate with me. I need to know what I need to do, right? So even down to the users. So you need to communicate, because I can say from experiences, almost everybody, we are talking about experience in ThinkUX, right? So this is a relatable session, right? So communication is very important, and I think is a good approach and one way to not overwhelm the users. Thank you very much for that. A round of applause once again. All right. Now moving to Dennis. Hello, Dennis.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
I like the composure. I want to be like you.
I'm not composed, by the way. I feel like this chair makes me look richer than I truly am.
Oh.
So they try adjust so it doesn't look like I'm.
So you can get the right feet.
So
I got you. Yeah, welcome once again. So we've been speaking about data experience design, yeah, and like I said, it's a practical and technical, side of design. Not all designers know that.
Yeah.
We just jump to Figma, like, let me be done 2 months, we have a deadline and all of that. And this part is really important, right? Because, I remember one of our spaces on Twitter, we spoke about product adoption, product failure and all of that. And these are still some of the things that contribute to it. And we feel we need to enlighten, right, designers out there, on how to go by this thing and, to arrive at the best product. So I would like to throw this question to you, which is, how does data-driven differ from traditional design approaches in shaping user experience?
All right. When someone asks a question that is very tough, hello, or it's tough and you don't really know the answer, so you'll be like, that's a good question. So that's a good question. All right. So the difference really between data-driven design and the traditional is, like it states, with data-driven designs, you now have data, be it from real user behavior or just existing data that we have out there, as opposed to the normal way, which is just you designing from your intuition or what you think is good. Now, the problem with that for designers is a lot of designers are not in touch with real human beings. And that's why most times you see designs on X, they look very good, but they are very not usable. And that's why I always advise designers, make sure you actually get feedback from your friends that are not designers. It would help a long way. So for instance, now put 5 fingers up. I'm going to say something. If you know it, put it down. Can we play that game? All right. So put 1 finger down if you know that the average user spends only 52 seconds on a landing page. Now let's take a pause. So the problem here is, I see a lot of designs these days that they do a lot of animation at the start, and the animation takes 20 seconds. So if the average user, by the way, Jane, how are you? Nice to see you in person. So by the way, the average user spends 52 seconds, right? And you just took 20 seconds to show us that you are a good animator. So many times, the things that we see in landing pages today, you think they are good, but for a user, they are not. So let's continue. Put a finger down if you know that there is actually a reason why most food brands use red and yellow. A pause again. So, for instance, you want to create a food brand and you want to be creative. Because, you know, that's the word a lot of designers use. I just want to be creative. And you decide to go, let's use blue or let's use purple. Now, the problem is we don't know why they use these colors in the first place. Now, this is a principle I like to say. If something works, don't try to, change it without understanding why it works. So the simple reason why food brands use red and yellow is because, number one, red evokes hunger. You guys don't know this. Okay, you guys know this. But red evokes hunger, right? And yellow evokes eagerness. Then when you pair them together, you're passing through KFC, McDonald's. We're not getting McDonald's for Nigeria. So you're passing through maybe Mr. Biggs, right? You notice that it is red and yellow. So there's actually a reason for it. So I think that, you can put your 5 finger down. I don't want to bore you guys with the rest 3. So I think it's just important to understand the difference between these two things, right? So every designer has to be very data focused. Now let me just do one more. You might be here, you like illustrations. I also like illustrations. But are you aware that it's statistically proven that people react more to images than illustrations? So we like ourselves. You like to see, and that's why most adverts, they use a very fine, pretty lady. Because I don't know why you're using a lady to advertise Ford. Like, make it make sense. But because you see a pretty lady, there's something that evokes in you that wants to actually get or identify with that stuff. So again, understanding the importance of data, I know I jumped the gun here, but that is basically the difference between data-driven design and the traditional way of designing. Thank you.
A round of applause, please. Yes, that was an overwhelming round of applause. I think it was needed. Thank you so much for that. We all followed you. And I must say, let's stay on you still, right? Because you spoke about creative, and we are speaking about data. And we would all agree that there's no how you can be creative with a data-driven approach, because you have to stay with what you got, right? And at the same time, you need your creativity. So let's talk about this, like how can organizations strike balance between data-driven insight and creative intuition? Should I come again?
I think I got it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm privileged to have been a graphic designer before becoming a UI UX designer. And no, you do not have to be a graphic designer to be a successful UI UX designer, because I get that question a lot. So I personally feel that the major difference between graphic design and UI UX is backed by a lot of data and rules. So as a creative, as a designer, you need to be able to confine yourself to the rules as a UI UX designer. So what am I saying? If you use a Mac, you'll notice that the X, minus, and box, they are the top left. Then I think for Windows, top right. You'll be a very, for want of words now, funny creative to decide to bring it to the bottom right and bottom left because you want to be creative. So I feel like your creativity can come in such a way that I know that it has to be at the top left or right, but how can I make it stand out even at the top left and the top right? So what I'm saying essentially is your creativity must be guided by the rules that are there. So for instance, there's a law, Jacob's law. I just want to say I know all these things. So there's Jacob's law that states that users are used to using other platforms. They want your site to behave like other platforms. So for instance, the average Nigerian, I think every Nigerian, by the way, we use what we call the QWERTY keyboard, which means the first letter is Q, second by W, E, R. That guy be like, this guy no book. So Q, E, R, T, Y. Now, in places, other part of the country, they have something we call a ZC keyboard or so. It's how we AZ. Now, if I give any of you that keyboard to start using it, you will be very confused. So as a UI UX designer, you should be aware that when you try to do something creative that is very different from the rules that has been put forth, you are creating a cognitive load for your users. So they now have to learn how to use your product. And once a user has to learn to use your product, you have already failed as a designer. And that's why I advise every designer to always read books. And one of the books I would advise you guys to read on topics like this is Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for that wonderful perspective. Hello, Ruka, once again. All right. So Dennis spoke about, he said a lot, but two things still are choking me. So I need us to digest it a bit. He made mention of guided by law, which you can all understand by design principles, right? We are all familiar with that. And he made mention of cognitive load, which can be implications of biases of a researcher, right? So I would like to throw this question to you, which is, what are the implications of biased data on UX design decisions?
Okay, so I think this is part of the things I spoke about at UDC. So when your data is biased, some groups will be underrepresented, and you won't have the full context as to why they act that way, why they do whatever they do, and how to relay information to those sets of people. So when you're collecting data, or when you want to collect data, you should ensure that your target audience or the user group that you have identified in your initial stage are properly represented, so that when you are asking your questions, you know that it's not one-sided, or it's not, I assume that it should be like this, so it is going to be like this. No. Each of us are biased. I'm a biased person, and everybody here, we have our own bias. But as a designer, you need to put away that bias and ensure that you are asking the right questions to the right people, so you get the right answers. It's just as how they spoke about whatever you give the AI is whatever it is that is going to give you, right? Now, AI sometimes, it lacks context as well. So when you hide your stories, you hide your information, it won't necessarily give you what it is that you want, except you're feeding it enough data that, is able to put out your information. We need to understand that some designs might work well for some people, and it will not work well for others. It's how every one of us here, I don't think our font on our phone is font size 50. But if you look at somebody who is like 50 plus, 60 plus, they want to make sure that their text is very, very big. So when you're designing a mobile app that an old person would use, you should ensure that their account balance is very, very large, so that they can see that, okay, my 50,000 naira is 50,000 naira, right? But when you're designing for people, Gen Zs, millennials, we want cute things, we want fine things, we want things that are very, very attractive. You can't give your mother or your father a very, very shiny or colorful app for them to use. They'll tell you, Mami, move glasses, miwa, or bring my glasses or something. I can't really see this thing, or they reduce their brightness, right? That's context. That's knowing who you're designing for and making sure that you're designing accordingly for them and what they want.
Thank you so much. A round of applause, please. Yeah, thank you. Hello, Pamela. Are you ready for us? All right. Rukayat said something. She spoke about underrepresentation, right? She also spoke about Gen Zs. And we all know we are in the era. And we can all say there have been evolution in designs, the way we use our applications. Like, this was not how Google used to look like. I was reading something on IG. Excuse me. And it was about Founders Corner, and I was reading about when Yahoo was like the leading, it's more of like what brought in all this web and all of that. And I saw the interfaces, I'm like, ooh, like, so we can say, we are safe to say there's been evolution, right? So I would like to ask that, can user interface evolve based on user behavior and data? Yeah, can it evolve? Can there be evolution? Can user interface evolve based on data and user behavior?
Yeah, yes, I believe so. We're currently seeing it. So there are two applications that I use. Though, yes, they actually evolve. We see that, but there's the good side of it, and there's also the aspect that frustrates users. Now, today, if you look at Netflix, right? If you've watched a movie today, the next time when you come to Netflix, you get to see the same genre of movies being recommended to you. That interface is evolving based on your preference. look at some shopping applications today. Shein, for instance, if you've shopped if a kind of specific clothing, most times when you go there, those are the kind of clothing that you see. They all change based on your user behavior, right? It's a good thing, really. I like it. I like when I open my Shein apps and I feel like, oh, this application knows me, it understands me. But I'm not sure that they're doing it. They're not really capturing users in totality, like the way we behave. And that's why there's also the importance of the human input here, right? So most times what I do as a person, every 6 months I kind of change my kind of dressing. Every 6 months I have a different board of how I'm supposed to look like, right? So, but when I pick up my shopping apps, they keep recommending what I've used, like, let's say, last quarter is not changing, is the same thing, right? So, in as much as those interfaces change or supposed to evolve based on user behaviors, we also need to understand that user behaviors changes, and that is when we as UX designers have to kind of give users control back rather than making them look like they don't have control. They should be able to reset 1 or 2 things on our application or website just to gain back that clarity. So there should be like a balance in terms of that interface evolving, really.
Hello? All right, thank you very much for that. That was a good one, and I'm sure we all got that. So moving on to moving on to Toby, sorry. Hello, how are you today again?
I'm good.
Okay, so I'm going to be asking you this second question, but before then, I want to just give a scenario. So when we're talking about data, we're talking about quality and accuracy, right? You want to get quality. Okay, I'm a founder or I'm a designer. I want to work on a design. What do I need the data for? For quality products, right? For quality results, and for me to get accuracy for the people I'm designing for. Now, my question will move into how sure are we there is still accuracy even in the data whereby there's no bias on the respondent side. You could be a female and pick that you are a male. I mean, pun intended, right? So how do we ensure data quality and accuracy when making UX decisions?
Okay, so for accuracy and quality, right? One thing that I usually just say is it has to have a single source of truth, where it's coming from. Today, I think some years back, an organization I was working in, they were trying to increase the speed of onboarding for customers. Now, they have different products. They have a banking, they have investments, they have securities, they have pensions. And a customer could have these products before, right? And because the customer has this product before, I have GT Bank. I think I have like 2 GT Bank accounts. One of them is probably Oluwatobi Ojo. The other one is maybe my middle name and my last name. It's been long. Don't judge me. Yeah. So one thing I would say is single source of truth is very important. And how do you generally do that with data? You consolidate your information. So one of the things that we did as at that time, before we even had to design how the onboarding page and the flow should look like, was we started looking into the different databases for these different products. So pensions, we brought investment, we brought securities. Now, for every customer, there are things that you can combine together to know that this is the same person. So, for example, the person's BVN, NIN, first name, last name, date of birth, and some other things, right? And when you bring all these things together and try to check across different databases, you'll be able to see that this is the same person. Now, one thing that we now did was when you come on the platform and we ask you a simple question like NIN or BVN, next thing is we pop up, we have your account before. Do you want to use the same details that you've used to sign up before? And before you know it, onboarding time was going from 3 minutes to like maybe 15 seconds, just because we had a single source of truth. Now, And that's one of the big wins that I usually see when people are asking questions around ensuring quality and accuracy. Are we picking from the same location? And that's why data people sometimes now, they are a little bit big, because we now have like a data warehouse that we carry everything to, and we now supply back to the product guys, the engineering guys, to actually feed back to our customers. One other thing that you would have seen for anybody that uses all these Google Analytics, Amplitude, Mixpanel, if you've been fortunate enough to use like multiple tools, right, in the same organization, you would see that for the same metric, maybe you're trying to track something, you are getting maybe different results, and you're wondering, Google Analytics is saying is the one that is bringing, is Facebook that is bringing the most people to your page. Another one is giving you another thing, right? So trying to ensure that what they are picking from, once you realize that there's an issue with this data, because that's the first thing, and again, that goes back to the context. You will not know this if you don't know what you are searching for, right? Once you realize what you are looking for, then you can now walk back. What is the data supplying this thing, right? And looking into that data, you would know that, okay, there's an issue here, let's fix it.
Thank you very much. A round of applause, please. All right. Before we move into our last line of question, so Mr. Toby kept on saying single, single, single. So I want to do a quick survey. Singles in the house, make some noise. Okay. They are single people. I'm also single. So, okay, that was on a lighter note. So thank you so much. And before we leave this place, we would like to hear from you once again. And if you have any question, we can take one or two so we can get them ready. So building on that, and like you are a senior data associate at Flutterwave, so we would like one or two experiences, attached to this question. So, and it's that how can designers interpret conflicting data signals effectively? So has there been any cases that you face, this issue where there were, conflicting data signals? Maybe you had a particular approach and you're just getting too many options and, like conflicts happen within the data.
How can designers realize conflicting data signals? In all honesty, I'm not sure I've had to experience that before with designers. And because I'm just trying to be as honest as possible. I've been thinking of every scenario possible, but I can't really picture one. So I think I would likely pass, and maybe if there's another question I can respond to. Because I'm trying to think of experiences, and I don't want to just give something that I cannot relate to, right? Okay, that means I will just boil down to the same response I gave before. Yeah, so my friend here, we're close friends by the way, mentioned Mixpanel and Amplitude. So I didn't want to give a scenario that I'd given before, right? Which is where you use multiple product analytics tools and they are giving different results, right? So one thing I would say as regards that is, this is where being data savvy comes in, right? And being, like, there's this tool, or this course, I think it's Product School. I know most product designers take that thing. As a data person, I've also taken that course before, because it's actually really, really nice. Now, what you can do when you start seeing mixed signals from different product analytics tools is, if you are data savvy, you go into it. If you are not, then you can speak to the data team. What data team can do is, Mixpanel, for example, it has its own data source, right? Where it's picking from everything that you are seeing on the front end. There's a place that Mixpanel is picking it from, right? One thing as a data person you can do is, you can connect to that database. Do the same thing for Amplitude. At the end of the day, what we are seeing is we want to be able to track drop-offs, we want to be able to see the funnel, what happened at the initial stage down to transacting customers, right? So what you can do is connect to the database of both of them, try to calculate, and this is where having context and knowing what to do plays well. Don't just look at the tools as face value. It's just like the last panel session that we're talking about AI, right? AI can hallucinate a lot, right? And so are all these tools as well. So going to the databases, try to calculate these things yourself, the drop-offs and everything, And from there, you'll be able to see the issues. I've actually had an experience before where just checking the database, I can see approved date for a customer, but I can't see a sign-up date. It does not make sense, because before someone gets to being approved by compliance, the person must have signed up, right? So if maybe Mixpanel or something else is telling me the drop-offs, or basically time it takes from sign-up to being approved, for that particular customer, it's going to be giving me something wrong. But I won't know that. Why? Because I've not actually checked the data. So the truth is just check the data, see what is going on, and from there, calculate by yourself.
A round of applause, please. Thank you so much for the concise feedback. My last question to Pamela. Hello, Pamela. There's not how we can talk about data, talk about research insights, without talking about both geographical and demographical differences, right? We have, for example, Nigeria, we have Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, and other ethnic groups. So there's not how you can conduct research, or you want to extract data that you won't have different, let me use the word conflicting, data, and how, we need to talk about that, right? So I want to ask that, how do these cultural differences influence data interpretation in global UX designs?
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I think I would like to start by saying that most times when you work in a product team, right, the first people that they blame for, let's say, performance is usually the UX team. Oh, this user experience is not great. That's why people are not clicking on buying. That's why people are not signing up, right? But ever since I started looking at the data, after I design, I look at data, I'm able to defend things. So if you're dragging me, I'm dragging you too. So based on what he said, right, I recently did a UX research, right, for the purpose of this discussion. Let's call it a research into understanding payment with thumbprint, right? So I researched different geographical locations. We have people in Nigeria, Canada, and UK, right? Now, you will think that all of them will respond the same way. Oh, that's a good innovation. We can do it, but the data were speaking different languages. You had people in Nigeria telling you, I cannot use my thumbprint they will take my money. But if you go over to people in Canada or UK, you hear them saying, oh, this is a welcome idea, because they're already used to paying with their phone, tapping with their phone. You have Apple Pay, you have Google Pay, and all of that. Now, as a UX designer, imagine that design had been pushed to all the different geographical locations. Let's say they pushed it to UK and all of that, and they didn't do this research. And then looking at it, your manager is telling you that, oh, this product is performing very well in UK, but it's not performing very well in Nigeria. What are you doing? The first thing they will tell you is that maybe on the payment checkout, you have different payment options. Oh, it's because the pay with thumbprint is at the bottom. Let's move it to the top part, without paying attention to the geographical, the cultural background of the people. So when you're interpreting data, or when you're designing your product, you should pay attention to the culture you're designing for. And that's why before you design, also make sure you do research. Very, very important, so that you have data to back up your designs.
Thank you very much. A round of applause, please. The person with the loudest round of applause will take the issue home. Yes, thank you. All right. Over to you, Ruka. How are you once again?
I'm fine.
All right. So she spoke about, demographics, which we can say is personalization. Like, we want to give users the best experience. We want to know you. We want to give you what you want, recommendations and all. And we still know, or we have maybe a faded understanding that even with the personalization, we still have privacy intrusion. right? You have a hand up and you're asking me some kind of questions and you know what I mean. So I would just like to ask you that where should the line be drawn between personalization and privacy intrusion?
Sorry. Yeah. Thank you so much for that question. How do I answer this now? Personalization is good when it helps the users, right? In the sense that I spoke about how 50 plus people prefer to see their text in large font, and we like creative things, aesthetic things, colors, and all of that. Being able to adjust your font size, being able to adjust your theme is personalization. And it's really great. An app today that doesn't have customization, how would I put it now? Custom themes. Say you can change from dark mode to light mode. I don't think you're innovative enough, right? I, as a person, I like dark mode. I like dark mode because I wear glasses and too much light bounces into my eyes and then I just start tearing up. So knowing that there are certain people with certain disabilities, in quotes, and trying to provide solutions for these people makes your products more user-centered, right? Now, when you're now offering this personalization or these custom settings and whatnot, you should do it in moderation, in the sense that I don't need to feel like, this product is just giving me everything that I want, or are they tracking me? So you should know where to draw the line between being creepy and, trying to offer stuff that your target audience would like. This is where asking the right questions at the early stage comes in, and having a diverse set of users and asking a diverse set of questions, right? I don't want to just come on your app and then I'm seeing that you're already telling me about a car that I wanted to buy one time and I spoke about it with somebody and I'm seeing an ad for it. How did you know that I wanted to do that, right? It's creepy. So you should know where to draw the line.
Sorry, just to add one thing. I'm not a big fan of TikTok. I don't use TikTok like that. But my babe likes it, so I don't have choice. Yeah. So wait now. So usually when she wants to send me like a TikTok link that she likes and all that, I must watch it. But I tell her, I don't open TikTok like that. Even my notifications on TikTok is off. So please send it to my WhatsApp. Then she sends it to my WhatsApp, and maybe 1 week later or 2 days later, I just go to my TikTok. And I'm seeing that link she sent me is on our TikTok DM that she sent me. She did not send it on TikTok. She sent it to my WhatsApp. How is it there? I think that's weird, very weird. And if not for her, I would have deleted TikTok. So that just shows you that there should be a line that we should not be crossing when it comes to user experience.
A round of applause, please. Let's clap for him, even though he came for us, all singles. Let's clap. All right, thank you so much for that, that feedback, the overall feedback. Thank you, Rukayat. Thank you for that too as well. To the last question, because of the wanting of time, we might not take any question, right? So, hi, Dennis, once again. The essence of data research, product launch, because all of this still boils down to what people want to use. You want to create a solution, whoever you are, designer, founder, developer, right? And the end goal of it is success, right? So, so I would like to ask that, how do we define success in UX when using data as a primary driver?
All right, first off, so my fellow panel of judges, I don't know what you call it. So me and my babe always quarrel because of TikTok too. So sorry, I didn't know you guys were hearing. Sorry, I was just talking to him. And the reason is because I don't like TikTok as well. I post there, but I don't like to. And she sends a lot of 20 stuff in a day. So okay, back to the question. I want to start by saying something. Since this is the last time I'll be speaking here, I want to share a story of someone called Niels Bohrling. All right, you guys may have never heard of this story, because when you say something is successful, you're trying to say that it's an innovative product, right? So back then in the US, I think around 1958, we had what we call the 2-point seat belt. So the way seat belt is right now, there's like this and like this. That's not how it was before. It was just like this. So the problem is, when there was an accident, right, what happened is, based on the pressure on just your waist, it caused a lot of internal injuries. And then this guy comes, seeing the problem, and he decided to, why don't we distribute the pressure around the chest area as well? And that, according to research, is one of the biggest safety innovations in the automobile industry. Now, let me bring that to UI UX. The reason why we take data from users is because we actually want to make the product better for them, right? So imagine this guy didn't have this data, he probably would have not been able to create a successful product, as it were. So it's important to know that one of the ways you define success in a product is based on the data I have received from the user. What is the feedback like? So many times what people do is you get initial data and you go back to update the design, but you're not going back to get data on if what you even implemented is actually working, right? So it's very important. And as one of the things that shaped my mind when it comes to data research and all that was when I was working for a company, still working for them in Canada. And for the first time, I'm working for a country that I don't know their culture, right? I'm a Nigerian, so how can I design for Canadians? For instance, let me tell you guys, this stuff is really messing with my style. All right, so are you aware that in Nigeria, the color white means purity, but in China, white means mourning. So you would think that you are a great designer because white always goes well on almost everything, right? And you want to incorporate white into a product for users in China. So it's always important that before you even embark on a design process, you do your research. And when you've designed the stuff, I should bring it down like this. Okay. All right. So when you've gotten feedback, now you're aware that the color white is mourning in China. You're probably not going to do that. So I think a successful product, again, is a product that solves the problem that the user has. So for instance, the problem that the user had is the button was too small. So you increase it and you get data that, okay, there's now more signups, right? Or maybe you're designing an app that when you ask users to input their mobile number, this is actually real stuff I've experienced, and you realize that people are dropping off at that point of inputting their numbers. I think it was Rukaya that was talking about privacy. Some people don't like giving their numbers to apps that they have never used before. I remember when I used OpenAI for the first time, which I regret till today, because I didn't log in with Google. I just used another mail and did it, manually. So I always have to put in my mail and then my password to log in, as opposed to just logging in with Google. But because I was skeptical, so you need to make sure that what you're designing is safe for users. There's something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Again, to show you guys a notebook. And it simply tells us the hierarchy of things that user wants from life. The highest being psychological needs, right? And the second being safety needs. So you need to make sure that your app actually meets these needs. So when I'm using your application, I need to know that I'm feeling safe. One thing that ChatGPT does that I find very weird is that they literally tell you, this your stuff that you're putting, we go use them against you. Have you guys not seen that? So I know but I think they have gotten to a point where they can literally do anything and it works for them. And I'll just end by saying this, right? When working on a product, you need to be aware of the current state of that product you are working for. So it's actually aesthetically pleasing when your bottom nav doesn't have any write-up, like it's just text, thank you. It's just the icons. It actually looks very good, to be very honest. But because you see Instagram doing that thing, you now want to do it for a startup that we don't even know if it's even a startup yet. So you need to be aware of where exactly are you in this product thing. right? Because Instagram, they've been doing this for over a year. People are already used to it. So I think I'll just end there because I like to talk. Make I not go. All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, please. I just want to add something to what he said about a successful product. So a lot of us here use OP, right? And I didn't really like OP because I felt it was RAS. When they say, oh, what's your account? And then you're giving me OP, right? And because if I give you my OP account, you definitely have my phone number. But there's something that OP got right, and it's why I use them till today, is when you copy a number, it saves it, and then when you get there, it will ask you, should I paste this number up or do you want to type it, right? It's great because when I copy stuff, sometimes I forget, I go to another app and I'm quickly doing something and then it just gets lost, right? And then there's another thing they recently added is when you're typing in numbers. Sometimes when I want to transfer to my mom and she says, send me 50K, ask how many zeros is 50, I do 50000, just so that I'm sure that I'm not sending you an amount that is more than what you asked for. But when you're typing on OP, you see that small tag or that tooltip that says thousands, 10,000s, or if you're transferring to a number that you haven't, to a number that you haven't transferred to before, it's saying, you've not transferred to this person before. Are you sure you want to transfer to this person? Or if the person's account can't probably take the amount that you want to, it will tell you that it is a, sorry, you cannot do this action and stuff. That's what makes OP a really great product. And that's what most bank apps are missing out on. It's the fact that I am safe and I feel secure using that product. It's why I would always want to come back to using OP and using it a lot. So yes, that's another addition.
But okay, more things will be coming. So another thing I failed to address is, because I think one thing we have been dealing with mostly is from the user side of things. But data is also important from the business end as well, right? So I was working for this company, and we noticed that the most important thing we wanted users to use, they were not using it. And only to realize that it was actually at the very bottom of the home page, right? So when we went out, we actually did physical research, just showing people like, okay, use this stuff. And we noticed, because one thing we have to learn is that people can actually say things and they mean the opposite. So you give somebody your app and like, this is a very good app, it's very nice, and you see them struggling to use it. So as simple as just getting that feedback, what we wanted them to use, they started using it. It's the law of Pareto principle, whereby 80%, or rather 20%, is responsible for 80%. So as a business, you want to make sure that you have that 20% there, that even if they do not use the 80%, you are getting gold from the app. So that's my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A wonderful round of applause, please, to our panelists. I mean, they've done wonderfully well. They broke it down. This is a very technical session, and I can say we all understand what data analytics is talking about in design, right? I'm sure every one of us have things to say when we are being asked and even put it into our design process. Thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you, Ruka. Thank you, Pamela. And thank you, Toby. And ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this panel session. So let's just stand up for pictures before the award presentation.